Let's go to the slides. Okay, so today what we're going to talk about today, gentlemen, first off, can you just introduce yourselves really fast?
Hi, my name's AJ. I'm from San Diego, and I'm studying finance here.
Dude, finance, San Diego.
You know it. We're growing.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I got you, man. All right.
Hey everybody, my name's Joe. I'm from Pittsburgh, and I'm a junior economics major.
I'm Nathan. I'm from DC, electrical engineering and pre-law track.
And dude, are you really from San Diego, man? Why'd you come here?
Everyone asks, so like 85% of the time I meet someone, they ask me that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've kind of nailed the answer at this point. Being from the West Coast and coming to the East Coast has been one of the best decisions of my life.
Good for you, man.
Able to connect with more people. We could go into more, but that's the short.
Dude, awesome, man. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about today. Basically, we're going to talk about causality, we're going to have a conversation about when and how people are rich or poor. Like what makes them rich or poor? I mean, it's way beyond that, actually. So here, let's just go to the next slide, if you could. So one of you, tell me this. What are the factors that got those four people internships? Bro, Nathan, you can look right there, dude. 4 factors that got these 4 people internships at NASA. One of you. So what are the factors? Like when you see them, they got internships at NASA. What did they do? Who are they? What happened?
So I believe that these people definitely had passion to pursue that kind of career, which is one of the things that you need. It's not, you don't need passion to succeed in something, but it's definitely helpful. I think that these people also had crazy discipline, from what I've known about
Okay, all right.
space and everything.
Got ya.
It's definitely extensive, so.
Somebody else, man. What else? What would you just guess about them?
I would guess intellect and qualifications, just because, NASA, if you look at it on a list of the hardest internships in the world to get, NASA, I think, is top 5, might even be lower than that, but it's somewhere on that list. So I would say they definitely all have, to some degree, a large amount of intellect and prior qualifications.
Intellect, passion, qualifications. Bro, would you add anything to it?
Definitely. I had a good friend of mine got an internship at NASA this past summer. And I'd say way more than intellect or passion would be communication. Intellect is useless for landing an internship unless you can communicate that to the person hiring you.
Okay, all right. Good. Can you go to the next slide? So these are drug addicts on Kensington Avenue. So if you are in Philadelphia, okay, what factors got them there? Anybody?
Lifestyle choices, and maybe not trying to be the best version of themselves, I could say.
Okay. Joe. Yo, hang on. Okay. Joe.
Yeah, I'd probably generally agree with what he said. This is probably more like a lifestyle choice thing, or just some larger macro event in your life that caused you to go in some direction, one way or another, being a sort of bad direction, I guess you could say.
And Nathan, how about you, man?
I'd say, I agree with them. It can be the product of one's decisions, but circumstances and environmental forces can influence those decisions.
Wait, hang on. Okay, but hang on. This is the first time that somebody has said circumstances or environmental forces, right? What do you mean by that? Because none of you have hit that yet, so what do you...
Now, I'd be careful to say that those circumstances are to blame, right? Ultimately, I think, more than anything, one's own decisions are where it primarily rests on. But I think one can look at circumstances and say, for example, a good parental figure is important to encourage children to make good life decisions, right? So, I had a mom and dad who really encouraged me to be the best version of myself, to hold myself accountable, to engage, to be disciplined, right?
Okay.
And I think the absence of that while it would not absolve the responsibility of the individual, it can be harder to make those decisions for sure.
Did you want to add something there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely, like you said, it's one of the things that goes into it. But you know, you can succeed. There's all these stories. We've heard all these stories of people who come from situations that are not working out for them, and they've succeeded.
How many stories, bro?
I've heard. I mean, it definitely depends on what you look at. Like this guy Iman Ganzi. I'm butchering his name right now. He didn't grow up with a father figure, and that's a big. You know, you could say that's huge and will cause huge amounts of trauma or whatever you want to say about it. It can lead you down the wrong path, and not having that role model in your life can be detrimental.
Okay. All right, man. So here,
Oh, I was just gonna say I agree with him. Like, Pursuit of Happiness is a great movie, and that, like, you know, no matter how bad your circumstances are, one good decision can lead you out of it as long as you persist.
all right, man. So here. All right, let me, is green connected? Can someone, you can put green on the screen. Hey, all right, so listen, I'm gonna talk to the stream, okay? Leave you guys behind for a second. So this is, but listen to me, all right? I swear on my mother's grave. Oh, wait, hang on. My mother was cremated. I swear on my mother's ashes, okay? On my mother's spirit and her soul, that I want to understand how it is that those 4 people got NASA internships. What is the totality? What are the totality of the factors, and how best to understand that, and how these drug addicts, these people who became drug addicts on the streets in Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia got there. I swear I really want to know. I'm neither a liberal nor a conservative. I grew up in the working class. I grew up with, once my dad died at the age of 9, I had very few people directing me, telling me what to do, very little help. I'm one of the kids who didn't go to my summer camp because we didn't have $25, right? Everybody else in the school went. I didn't go. Like, I really, really bust my tail. And I have the idea that especially at my age, gentlemen, as I've been working my whole life, I'm a workaholic, and I see other people who aren't working, it pisses me off. Like, it really bothers me. And I pay a lot of money in taxes, and I don't like to just pay taxes for people who don't want to work as hard as me. Like, I really have a problem. But I'm a sociologist, and I want to understand what's going on. These folks on the streets in Kensington, I want to understand them. So I don't want to make excuses for them, bro. Nathan, what you said exactly. It's like, well, but circumstances happen to people, but we can't let that be an excuse, right? Okay, but what is it? If it's not an excuse, what is it? The conversation that the 3 of you had is the kind of conversation that I would expect if the 4 of us went to Cafe 210, got a pitcher of beer or 2 or 3 or whatever, and sat down and talked about these issues, and I think we'd have a really lively, interesting conversation. But what I saw in what you all said was there's nothing systematic about it. You didn't have categories to say, hey, I need to make sure that I pull from this category of explanation, and then I need to make sure that I pull from this category of explanation. You were just throwing out the first thing that came to your mind, which was cool. You were very thoughtful, and I was right. Like, the 3 of you are really smart, and that's why I picked you. I just had this sense that you were going to be smart. Like, thoughtful, you were going to have stuff, but it wasn't systematic. And so what I want to try to do, for 40 years, I've been trying to understand this without being a liberal, whatever that is, right? Without being really conservative, whatever that is, right? And trying to just understand. And I'm a sociologist, so I'm paid to try to understand. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm try to get us all to be a little more systematic in our answers, so that if you all were speaking to a room full of really hard left liberals, that they would be able to say, okay, I hear what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. And if you were speaking to a room of hard right conservatives, they would also say, yeah, okay, I see I like what you said. I like that. That's cool. So that's where we're going to go today. All right? Okay, so listen. Now, can you go to the next slide? So here's the start of the structure. Remember, I just said you need to draw from this category, and then once you exhaust that category, you need to draw from this one. So let's just start with the internships, right? Social structure. Things happen to us. You guys, y'all have parents. Your parents have a certain amount of money, wealth, income. They have education. They bring that. You have access to certain education. You have access to experience, good and bad, right? Good and bad. It's not, but I'm just looking at you. You'd be very different people today, and I'm sure you would agree, if you grew up 50 miles north of I-80 in Pennsylvania in a trailer that costs $15,000. And went to a school that really was not a very good school. You'd be very different people today. We agree with that? 100%. Okay, so that means social structure is fundamentally important. We have to look where people come from. We have to look at what they've learned, what they've been taught, their life experiences, their peers, their neighborhood, all that stuff. Because, listen, and by the way, I'm talking a lot right now, but you guys, I'm going to put it back on you, okay? Because I know you three guys, I know you want to jump in, because that's why you're up here. Because if we don't understand, not as excuses, but to understand. If we do not understand, now I'm back to the stream. Listen, if we don't understand the sociological factors and forces that lead people to be who they are, then what's the point of thinking that we understand anything? Because we don't. We don't. How can you understand? If you don't break it down? The problem is when we get into social structure, and we start talking about parents and their money or poverty or whatever it is, right? If someone was physically or emotionally abused, or whether you grew up with two parents who are on disability your whole life, man. The thing is, once you start talking about that, you do exactly what Nathan did, which is like, well, but these things happen to people. But it's not an excuse. Like, because you start over here, and you're like, yeah, but we can talk about this, but we can't stay there. So your gut, the way you did that was perfect, because you went here and then you stepped over here, okay? So on the other side is personal decisions and responsibility. And you all laid that out really well with both those examples, right? We all can make decisions different than the ones we have. Bro, if you grew up in a broken down trailer north of I-80 with two parents who were on disability and grandparents who were alcoholics and God knows what, right? You still could make a personal decision.
100%.
Yeah.
You're not really focusing or thinking about the same things if you're in that type of situation.
Okay.
You just don't have the same type of thoughts as someone who's. If you have to think about how am I going to pay for my next meal,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to think of how you're going to change the world.
Okay, hang on a second.
Way.
I'm going to disagree with you. Okay. You could think about that because some people do.
Yes.
Remember, that's why I asked. Was it you that I asked? Wait,
we gave the example.
Okay, but some people do. Look, but because some people do, right now we got to deal with this, and we got to say like, oh, okay, hang on. Some people are able to do that, so shit. What does that mean? And then the tendency is going to be like, oh, if one person can do it, therefore everybody can do it. Therefore everyone can do it. It's like, no. The fact that one person in this room, in this entire room, could overcome absolutely unimaginable odds and do something, what that means is that 1 out of 750 people can overcome that unimaginable odd and do that thing that was like no one expected of them. And for me, as a sociologist, I'm like, oh, That's 1 out of 750. Isn't that fascinating? That 1 out of 750 human beings can somehow overcome those odds. Because evidently, everybody can't do that, because you don't do that. And so like, okay, but it's 1 out of 750. So what good does it do to me? This is where sociologists, so here, I'm gonna put something right back on your plate in a second, right? This is where people like me, there are people right now watching the stream and being like, oh, yeah, because you're a liberal, that's why. You think that people don't have responsibility. I'm like, no, they do have responsibility. But only 1 out of 750 somehow seem to over and over manage to do that thing that is really difficult to do. So like, I can say like, yeah, but the rest of you are responsible for it, but you don't. And so therefore, what's the point of me saying you're all responsible for it? It's like one of you could grow a third leg, but you don't. Yeah, I don't know. That's a bad example. We can get some kind of example. You know what I mean? Okay, so you got that? So here, kick back to me. Start with Joe. Like, what do you hear me saying? Like, yeah, I want you to have a better way, a more intellectually grounded way of understanding this stuff. What are you hearing?
I mean, I think that it's difficult, really, because it's like one way or another, the personal decision side of it, it's like you do have to take that into account, I think, one way or another, right? Like, and everybody who's ever talked about like being disciplined or anything like that knows that that is naturally a very difficult thing. So I think that's why we can see like that 1 out of 750 example, right? Maybe that's the single person who was able to like go out, be disciplined, and achieve what they wanted to get out of their situation. But at the same time, it is like you have to take in, like, at the end of the day, for a lot of people, you're a product of your environment, for better or for worse. So like, if you start out in a poor situation, I think it's definitely more difficult to come out of that than, otherwise.
We are in part a product of our environment. Yeah. Okay, but no, this is really important. So remember how like I said, no, you got to say it differently. When you say we're a product of the environment, then what you've done right there is you've taken away personal responsibility or the ability to change. And you, because I read what you wrote in your application, your volunteer application, you're a perfect person who is like completely made a decision when you were 16 years old, 18 years old? 14, to say like, I'm not gonna be in this environment, I'm gonna change everything. So like, okay, you just were walking down here, everything was going this way, and you were like, nope, I'm going this way, and you did that. So you weren't a product of your environment.
So like I like to add to it, it's like saying we're a product of our environment until we're not, right? So that's like, again, where the personal decision side of it comes in, saying like, I need to do what's best for my life.
Okay. And most people have a really difficult time saying that. Why is that? Maybe that's just the human consciousness, that it's difficult. So like, all right. Or maybe it is, and this is where sociology comes in, y'all, and this is what's really cool, and then I want you to weigh in, and then I want AJ to weigh in. What's interesting for me is that I look at these groups of people, right? And I look at, like people that grow up in state college, or people that grow up international students, or whatever it is. I look at these groups of people, and I'm like, why is it that they share certain things? Isn't it fascinating? Rich people share certain things. Poor people share certain things. Not entirely, but there's a lot that they share. And then I want to try to understand those things. But because I'm willing to understand those things, and because I'm willing to say, well, there are a lot of things outside of our control that we don't really see that shape who we are. And it's really worth looking for the patterns of those things. Like those people in Kensington Avenue, I'm telling you, man, what y'all say is like, yeah, they didn't have willpower, they didn't have this, they didn't have that. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? If we go and we study 1,000 of them, and we really do a deep dive into who they are, we're going to find some interesting patterns. And we're going to find, for example, I'm going to do this thing right now. It's like everyone has these invisible strings. They come down. And the strings just like connect us to life itself. And we're going to see some invisible strings with all these people. Maybe not all of them, but maybe like 20% had this going on, and like 32.5% had this going on, and like 17% had this other thing over here. And then we're going to start to say, oh, yeah, they're responsible, but still like interesting things happen to people. without us even knowing. It's like, and it's not always easy to overcome. That's why we sociologists get labeled leftists and liberals and socialists and stuff, because we're willing to entertain those things. Bro, do you have anything you would add? Anything that's like kicks in? No, I actually don't. I'm going to show you something. You're going to start the next thing. All right, Nick, can we go to the next slide? What's that? All right, we have a question. All right, go to the question. What do you think? Can you guys answer this question? Bro, the first question.
I completely disagree with this statement. I feel like in the past, I can't speak for something that I wasn't a part of, but from what I've heard, from experiences that I've been told, I know that it was more common to do labor, manual labor, examples as such, like that. It's just not the same now. You know, people are babied now in many aspects of their life. Not many people even take out the trash or are able to cook for themselves. And it's not a bad thing at all. It's just a different time now. I feel like we're in a time where things are more accessible and easier to access. Well, you can't blame that. You can't blame anything.
Okay, all right, hang on. That's so interesting, because now you just shifted in the other direction to people really being these products of life around them, not making individual decisions or something, right?
Have you ever watched TikTok before?
TikTok, dude?
TikTok.
Dude, how old am I, bro? Like, seriously? Come on, man. Like, yeah.
My parents will send me
TikTok channel in this
TikToks.
class. Have you not watched our TikTok channel? Go ahead, man.
I mean, there's things that I don't want to say too much, but things are definitely trying to grab people's attention and limit one's ability to think for themselves. And
Okay.
we can go into that. We can go into that.
Okay, that's fair. I hear that. Do either of you have a response to the question, not the statement at the bottom? Do you have a response? I like what you said, bro.
Yeah, and like, I would say honestly yes, right? So I'd have to disagree with you there. I think if you think about like the whole idea of the American dream, like you can think of that in any way you want to, whether or not it's alive or dead in today's age. But it's like the whole point of that is like you're able to come here, or if you're already here, you are here. But like you come here, you're able to figure everything out for yourself, work, you know, however you want to, and create a life that you want for yourself. And like at the end of the day, there's no part of that deals with like a larger group of people that are there to help you out or do things for you, right? I think that like a lot of that is just you're relying on yourself to create your own life.
Okay, bro, a quick thing?
Yeah, I'll take a slightly different stance. I think it really depends on where you look, right? Like, you go to DC, where, you know, everybody's supposedly the self-made man.
And
it's
women.
very much a culture of self-reliance, right?
Okay.
You know, you go to school, you make the right decisions, you work hard, you can get what you want.
Unless you're poor in D.C. But
Right.
go ahead.
You turn somewhere else, say a poor district of DC, or you go, I don't know,
Yeah.
say California, New York,
Yeah.
somewhere where it's not as emphasized, right? Or I guess government welfare programs are more prevalent. People might say, I can't be self-reliant, I'm dependent on the system around me. So it depends on who you ask, like all things.
Okay, all right, okay. So let me ask you this question then. Can you, Nidhi, can you go to the next slide? Okay, these two young people, or I think it's two, because I think the one guy is the same guy. This is a photo of them, they were carjacking somebody. And they're young, man. They were in, this is in DC, I think, okay? Carjacking, all right? So, my question then is this. How did these young people come to think that carjacking, at that age, they're young, they're teenagers, the carjacking is a good idea? How'd they get there? Now, here's the thing. You got to be able, now what you want, the way you want to think about answering this question is you want to think the systematic stuff. right? Remember, we got the two categories. We got stuff that happens to us, the outside of us, the stuff with the ether we live in, and then we have the part of us that the stuff that comes from within, right? So that kind of free, the stuff that we're more free on, and then we have the other stuff. So how is it that these young people decided that carjacking is? How would you explain? Well, you're going to explain it to the cameras.
Yeah, so I mean, a good illustration is the French philosopher Rousseau, right? He comes to the conclusion that, like, you know, in a hypothetical situation where I'm hungry and I need to steal my, you know, when I say master, servant-master relationship back then, need to steal my master's food, Rousseau would say, yeah, and I wouldn't feel bad about it because it's what I wanted to do and it's what I needed at the time.
So poor people would say, like, hey, I'm just going to take what I need.
Some poor people. And then you look at John Locke, social contract theory, right?
Yeah.
His background, along with his approach to life, led him to conclude otherwise, that, you know, sort of a Kant idea that, you know, golden rule, do unto others as you would have do unto yourself.
Okay.
If I had a car, I wouldn't want someone trying to jack my car.
Okay. Okay. So listen, man.
I guess what I'm saying is I would need to know more, right? Like,
No,
all I
I
have
want
is
to
a
give you.
picture.
Yeah, okay, I got you, but I'm not going to give you more, bro. You want to take a stab at this, and then AJ's going to jump in, or do you want AJ to go first?
Yeah, so this could be like a Robin Hood situation. Like, what if these people are, you know? Oh, sorry, I'm talking.
No,
too
no,
loud.
assume it's not.
What if? Okay, if
It's not a Robin. They're not
if
like
it's
jacking
not-
the car to give it to a poor person.
If it's not desperate. Okay, this is my opinion on the stance. I feel like desperate people are more willing to do desperate things, and I think that if you really look at it, survival is the key thing of this. If they don't have whatever resource it's going to be,
Okay,
that's the ground reason of why they are.
Okay, here.
are
Let me.
doing
I'm
this.
gonna.
Let's
I
do
gotta.
it.
I gotta respond to
Yeah.
people my age for a second. Okay, listen. What? Man, I don't even know if I can. I don't want to because I don't want to. Bro, never mind. I'm not going to respond. Dude, why'd you bring desperate into it? Like, why makes you even bring that in? Like, desperate has nothing to do with it. I want to know why these young black teenagers decided that it was a good idea to jack someone's car and take it from them and be violent in the process. I just want to know, like, explain that to me. Because now we're sitting and having a beer, okay? And we're
Right.
at the bar, the cameras aren't on, it's just us, and I tell you this story, and we're sitting back, hang on a second, let me get my beer. All right. So we're sitting here, and we're just having a beer, and like, yeah, man, these black kids, like, fuck. Dude, they just jacked up this car, and like,
crazy.
what do you think made them do that?
You want me to answer it like systematically, like how you wanted it, or
Well,
how
I
do you
know
want, you
that
want me
your
to talk
first
like I'm
answer-
shooting the shit with you?
Dude,
Like,
listen, man. The first answer you would have given, when we first went down the road, the very first thing when I asked you about the NASA kids, why doesn't that apply here? You said the NASA kids, yeah, they're really smart. They're really driven. They're really talented. Well, these kids then would be what?
I would say that
they're driven to go steal a car.
Okay, they're smart
right?
about how to drive.
They're smart in that sense, and they're just using their potential for a different reason. They really are at that level. You're using
Okay.
your potential. You have a certain amount of potential, a certain amount of energy that you can put forward into something,
Yep.
and they're just using it in a way that's looked at as negative.
Dude, no, hang on a second. Let me help you out here. It's not looked at as negative. It's
wrong.
fucking
It's wrong.
negative.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
Like,
Yeah.
Dude, like, here's the thing. Look, here's the problem. There are a lot of conservative people who are listening right now, okay? And you guys just switched a little bit. If they weren't black, we'd shift the conversation a little bit. And you guys you're
How does that? I don't know. How
I
does
think
that
you would
shift?
have. No, hang on. I think you would have. But you're like, what, half Jordanian? What's your background?
Jordanian. Yeah, both my parents.
Jordanian?
immigrated.
What's your background, bro?
Persian and Italian.
Persian and Italian. And you, what's your background?
Just Italian.
Italian. So Persian, that's Iranian, by the way, right? Okay, so listen. No, I just feel like you guys, you just backed up a little bit. You weren't, it's like, oh, they're black, so I gotta kind of not be, I don't want to be seen as racist, so I'm gonna just back off, because otherwise you just say, yeah, fucking bunch of black kids, like, damn, man, I hope they caught these motherfuckers, threw them in jail, like, come on,
That's what I'm thinking, like, you know, nature of man is inherently evil, right? And so
no, it's not.
I disagree.
Dude, I'm saying, where's the evil? I don't see any evil in this room. Hang on, don't philosophize. Explain to me how they came to carjack. Without being liberals, now you suddenly sound like a bunch of liberals. Like, because you're not willing, because you're.
I could explain that, you know, I see a car, I want it. That's one explanation. But again, it's not black and white, right? It's the same thing with the NASA interns where it's like,
Okay.
Maybe they just thought it was sick.
I mean,
Like,
I mentioned
you could think that.
Like I mentioned that, you know,
Okay.
someone successful in that position had parents who believed in them. And so it's like, yeah, their circumstances influence, but it was still a product of their own decision.
Okay, all right. Hey, hang on, Joe. I hear what you said, bro. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Joe.
I think it's kind of wrong of you to assume that like we all changed our viewpoint on what we thought was right and wrong just because you put up like some
Okay,
black
hang
kids
on.
the
Maybe
screen.
you didn't.
And like
You're
I
right.
didn't get a chance to hop in yet.
You didn't
one
get
way
a
or
chance.
another.
All right, bro. Save your kind of half partly white brothers up here.
I would say like they made that decision because one way or another they wanted that car for some other reason, right? Whether that's right or wrong, I mean, it is inherently wrong to go out and steal a car. I don't think anybody in here would
Yeah, okay,
disagree with
got
that.
you.
But like for whatever reason, they determined that that was the course of action that they wanted to take for some other reason.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with
An
what they
effed
look
up
like. or
reason.
anything.
Whatever it is, it's
Sure.
an effed up reason.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with what they look like.
Okay.
It has everything to do with
All
the
right, so
decision
listen,
that they
Matt.
made.
Okay, I got you. So here's the thing. You're right. You are absolutely right in terms of me like kind of jumping in. But all I can say is I just see this again and again and again that we don't know how, if we're, for example, in this case, if we're not black, we don't know how to critique black people in a way that we can feel really, really comfortable with. Like, yeah, man, the moment a black person comes in, one thing that happened, now I'm not saying it completely happened with you guys, but you were pretty strong about the NASA people, and you could have gone in the opposite direction with these people. It's like, I don't know, but clearly they got nothing going on for them. They're violent. They're this, they're that. They clearly had their social upbringing clearly was not up to any kind
But
of
we
standard.
don't know that.
Well, you didn't know that about the NASA people. Dude, can you go back to the NASA slide? The woman on the guy on the top left, he might have got the internship because he's gay. And like they're like, yeah, or because he's Latino. He looks kind of, he looks kind of Latino, right? He could be a Latino. Does he look that? And like the woman on the right, oh, because we have affirmative action going on, so we needed a black woman because this is post George Floyd. You didn't say any of that. You were like, oh, they're clearly hardworking. Like, I don't know. How do you know that? It could have been all affirmative action.
So I don't think it's fair for you to assume that I didn't critique the other one just because they were black.
Okay, I got you.
I mean, I'm coming from a law perspective, right? You assume innocent
Yeah.
until proven guilty.
I hear that.
With
Okay,
the
I hear
NASA,
that.
It's a success story, and with the other one, it's a failure
Okay,
story. So
dude,
it's not too-
here, I got you, man. I got you, and I got you, and I got you. And the issue is, you don't have enough time. We didn't have enough time to really build it out. So you guys are doing great because you're really smart and you're going here. I'm responding to things that I just see over and over and over again. Okay, and one is nobody said anything about the fact that, well, these people probably, if I had to guess, they probably came from upper middle class families. They probably did not come from poor families. None of you said that. You didn't say like, yeah, internship, it's really, really possible that they knew somebody. And somehow nepotism made that happen, right? Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, I didn't say directly that they came from an upper class family.
No, you didn't say that.
I didn't say it directly, but I did say that people who are not in that situation, they're not as rich, they're not going to be able to have the same kind of
Exactly.
thoughts. And then you can go into that more. Obviously, it could be, they could be less qualified than the plain vanilla white dude who's just like, a regular dude, more qualified because they are a different race. And
No, because they overcame more. Like, let's say, wait, hang on. One of the problems with today's class is like, if I were sitting out here, there's no way I could not be talking to whoever I was sitting next to, man. I'd be just like, dude,
some crazy takes.
Just hang on. You're right, and you were right on the verge of saying that. By the way, when you first started talking, that like, well, they clearly have some kind of motivation and drive, and like, yeah, it could be drive because their parents are really talented and push them. Could be drive because they had very little and they like had to, overcome that. But okay, hang on. Let's go back. Another question from the stream? All right, ma'am. This is just an awesome, you see how complicated this stuff is, right? Striving Janice from the Netherlands says, what role should the American government play in alleviating poverty? Oh, man. Yo. Do you want to take that, dude? What role should the government play? This is from the Netherlands, a kind of neo-state socialist society that's changing, by the way, very radically.
I mean, it's interesting because, like, personally, I think that the biggest crisis that our economy would face is the disparity between income groups, right? So, like, if you go back like 60 or 70 years, there was a smaller portion of like ultra high net worth individuals than there are now, right? And there was a larger portion of like working and middle class people making an income relative to those ultra high net worth people that was like somewhat of like a less substantial difference than it is today. I'm saying a lot of words that like without giving numbers, so it sounds bad.
No. Let me just change the question. Can you go back to the black kids? How much money do you think we should invest on rehabilitating them? After they just carjacked and violently beat people, man. How much are you willing to pay? Because you're the government.
So I mean, there's not really an answer I can give because I'm not really educated on the difference between like
No, just how much are you willing to give, man? Well, you got to start paying
general
taxes.
number?
Like, yeah, how much are you willing to give?
Personally?
Yeah.
Like, so if we're counting personal contributions and then
Yeah.
going that across like all tax-paying people, I don't know, I would assume like, realistically it's a very small number because you have to factor in like everybody in America is paying taxes.
So how much do you think we as a society should give to help rehabilitate them?
I couldn't tell you with what.
Like, what's your gut feeling? See, this is an coming from someone from the Netherlands, where this conversation is really dynamic and ongoing. Bro, do you have a response?
Yeah, well, I guess I have a clarifying question. Like, what do you mean by give? Because
How many resources are we willing to expend to rehabilitate these folks?
Like, that also depends on where we're expending them, right? Like, you could expend them in the law enforcement system and say, we want better law enforcement to prevent something like this from happening again, right? We want to catch it before it happens so that people aren't in this situation where they would need to be rehabilitated, right?
Okay.
That's one way. Another way could be like, we're going to improve our prison system, right? Like, do we want it to be a corrective restoration, or do we want to put them through like a rehabilitation program?
We could improve our education system. We could make it less likely that their parents, we could make it more likely that when they were born, when they were created to two people living under one roof and not like individual people out trying to survive. We could do all sorts of things, but the question is, do we want to do that?
Right, sure. And you had mentioned at the beginning, it's hard because like I worked hard for my position and person B did not, and you're saying they reap the benefits of my hard work.
This is a question. Yeah, but maybe it's in the end it's good for you because maybe it's your car that's going to get carjacked, and you're like, damn, whatever, man. So whatever we got to spend, like, stop this carjacking nonsense.
Right.
Like, come on,
So
like, let's
I would
fix
say
it.
Yes, on the condition that it's put in the right places, right? So if it's in the public school system, which in my opinion could use a lot of improvement, right? I'm sure there are a lot of people here who would not disagree. or it's, in, a proper law enforcement system that prevents these things
Okay,
from
listen.
happening.
All right, hang on. Dude, I love what you're saying. Bro, I want to ask you a question. I will guarantee there will be some people watching who are my age and they're pretty conservative. And they really, they want to throw the book at these kids. They're just like, no, like, this is it. There's no rehabilitating. Like, stop, throw the book at them. Make an argument for why we shouldn't do that. Make like a so-called liberal argument for why we really should invest more money into young people like this.
I think there's no way there's no way that it's acceptable to put money forward to people that want to continue to go down a destructive path. There's no excuse for that. That's only further crushing the country. That's only further putting us in a bad direction. You can't help people that don't want to help themselves. You have to want to help themselves first, and I believe that if they wanted to get that help, you should be able to give them as much resources as you can, provide as much for them as you can, only if they want that help. But some of these people don't value growing as a person or networking and
Some people
going
don't
to NASA.
Dude, including people in this classroom who don't value.
100%.
Okay, so listen, bro, can you make an argument that would say, because you kind of did it. You like started down this was good actually, by the way, AJ. You started in this kind of liberal way, like, yeah, we need to stop these, we need to fix society itself. We need to invest to fix society. And then you turned around and you did this really nice conservative segue. And we only can help people who want to help, because if people don't want to be helped, like, why waste money on them? Spend the money somewhere else, which is typically what many people with a more conservative perspective think, which is like, and when I say conservative, you understand, like, I'm talking in the generalities of how we talk about liberal and conservative. The vast majority of human beings in the United States, where we divide in this way, like the Trump conservatives and the Biden or Obama liberals, people are a mix of all sorts of different ideas, right? Okay, so here, let's move on. Let's move on. By the way, one quick question, bro. Is it important that these guys are black? Does it make a difference that they're black?
Are you speaking legally or like talking about?
No,
what they
just
did
like
wrong?
in terms of how we're going to explain their actions. Do you bring race into it? When do you bring race into it? We're going to explain their actions. When do you bring race into it? Or
I don't
should
think
you?
that it should be brought in.
Okay, hang on. Do you agree with that?
To an extent, yeah. I mean,
Okay, hang on. Do you agree with that? Just like, would you mostly agree with that? Yeah, race shouldn't be brought in. It doesn't really matter.
I mean, it definitely doesn't give a good impression to the African American community. Doesn't at all.
Okay, but-
and after everything that we've been through in this class, we've seen all these numbers.
Yeah.
These people are suppressed, and it's only further putting
Divide.
them in that
Okay.
giving them that bad look.
Okay. So here's what I would say. Yeah, what I would say is race absolutely matters that they're black. Okay, as a sociologist, I am really, the moment I look at that, I am absolutely thinking, whoa, they're black kids. Okay, this matters. Now, what am I thinking? I'm thinking a whole range of things about black Americans and poor black Americans and brown Americans and rich and poor brown Americans and all sorts of things, right? But for me, if I want to understand how it is that these kids ended up carjacking someone, I'm going to bring race into it. Now, that doesn't mean it's an excuse. I'm not going to say like, oh, because they're black, they're less responsible. Nothing like that. It's just that if I really, really want to understand what the hell's going on and how it is that they came to the place of thinking that it was a good idea to carjack someone, their race is going to be part of that conversation. It's not the only thing, but it's going to be part of the conversation. I just need to learn how. But, I've spent 40 years talking about race and having conversations about race and thinking very thoughtfully about when it matters and when it doesn't matter. So for me, I could be in a room full of, this entire room could be black people. And I could put that up there and I'd be like, all right, black people, here's what you got to know. let me tell you a story about these kids right here. And first off, most of the people in the room would be saying, yeah, well, throw the book at them, man. People have this idea that black people would be really liberal and be like, well, you got to coddle them, it's not their fault. It's like, dude, that's because, you don't know black people, man. The most conservative, I almost said hour, but it's more like 3 hours of the week, is a black church on a Sunday morning, man. It's like, so this is kind of thing, right? But most of us don't do that. And so we're stuck in this race conversation. Can we go to the next slide, though? I want to go here. Okay, wait, go back. Was this the next slide? All right, okay. So here, take a look at this. By the way, this is a great conversation. You guys are awesome. Man. Look. Take a look at these numbers here. Probably makes sense. Although I will say college degree, this is household net worth. So when we talk about household net worth, Mr. Finance guy, you're in finance, right? Can you tell him what household net worth is?
So it's a combination of all your assets, everything that you own, and you have to account for your debt. That goes into it as well. It's a factor.
Got it. And then at the end of that is your net worth, okay?
Net worth is everything, factoring out the debt.
Yeah, yep. Okay, so median household, median and mean, difference? You guys got the difference there? Can one of you explain it?
Well, since EE has the most math. So median is that's like the middle number, right?
Yeah, hold it close.
Median's like the middle number, whereas
Yep.
mean is so if you have like 5 90s and a 0, right? The mean's going to be about 50. Median is going to be a 90 since that's like the middle number. And if you listed all the numbers out and you picked the one in the middle from, the first to the last, the median would be 90, but the average would be a lot.
Okay, exactly. So if you line up all the households in the United States across the front of this room, 200,000 or whatever it is, 170,000, I don't know. You line them all up, the wealthiest down at that end, the poorest down at that end, and you take the one right in the center. That's the median. But if we take the average household wealth, what it does is you add up all the wealth of everybody and you divide by the number of people. And that means you have like the Bill Gates of the world and the Warren Buffetts and all the richest people. And so that net worth, the mean or average household net worth in the United States is about $1.5 million because it includes all those other people. But this is the one in the middle. Now, does this make sense to you? No high school diploma, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Yeah, considering college degree can vary a lot, right? You have a STEM degree or a PhD, you're going to end up getting paid a lot more naturally.
Not all PhDs get paid a lot more, my friend.
True, very true.
Those in sociology don't necessarily get paid a lot more. And that's the crazy thing. You people would imagine, Sam, he teaches this big class, he must make a lot of money. I wish I could tell you how much money I made, but I'm not going to. But listen, at the same time, when you have degrees like sociology, by the way, those of you, you might want to just go apprentice being an electrician or a plumber. You make so much more money. You know what I mean? Oh my God. You don't even need to graduate high school. You do so well. Oh my God. Okay, but anyway, we're going to go to the next slide. All right? Okay, so here. Remember when Trinity was up here? And Trinity, where are you, by the way? Are you here? Dude. Wait,
Hey.
No, it wasn't you. No, who was the, who was the, no, it wasn't Trinity. Who was the other one? When we talked about oppression. Who was that? Brooklyn, man. Is Brooklyn? Are you here? Wait. Dude, Brooklyn. Awesome, man. She killed it that day. So now we're going to go back to what Brooklyn was talking about. And I want to have a conversation here, right? Why is it, now what I want you to, we're going to spend the rest of the class, you all taking what you've learned, remember, all the personal stuff and the structural stuff, explain why Native Americans, who now are sort of shifting to say, hey, we prefer to be called American Indians. People have lots of different names, but like, okay, so that's why I put in American Indians. Why are they the poorest Americans? Yeah, you're going to do your explanation, and you're going to draw from both sides of that. Can you go back to the thing? Keep going. One more. And one more. Yeah, right there. You got to draw from both sides. Remember, so everyone in the class, you want to make an intellectual argument here. You want to be smarter right now than you were 45 minutes ago. You just want to be smarter. You want to be more thoughtful. It's not about who's right and wrong. It's not at all about that. But if you don't draw from both sides of this, you will be wrong. You will be more wrong than right. And that means that if you tend to lean toward a more pull yourself up by your own bootstraps conservative argument, if you don't take into account what people like the social structure side, the things that happen outside of people's control, if you don't take that into account, you're not making a very smart argument. And if you only think the thing the most important, that matters most beyond anything is the stuff that happens to us outside of our control, and you don't take into account personal decisions that people make, because those young people, those black teenagers, in the end, they made a decision. I don't care what happened to them. I don't care what they went through. In the end, they could have gone through the most horrific thing that you could ever possibly imagine. In the end, they made a decision to carjack. So it's like, okay. It's what it is. And I want to understand that decision. Because if I can understand what got them, so now I suddenly sound like a bleeding heart liberal, right? But listen, if you were the kids, if you were the carjackers, I'd be saying, listen, man, come on. Help me to understand how you got to the place where you thought that was a good decision. And now I sound like, he's not putting responsibility onto them, or he's being this bleeding heart guy. And it's like, no. Explain it to me. Because if I can understand what led you to do that, then I'm more likely to be able to understand what leads other people to do it, and then I'm more likely to be able to stop it. You see, which is ultimately what we want to do. Okay, so anyway, both sides, okay? Okay, go back to Native Americans. So, bro, we'll start with you. Explain why Native Americans are have the poorest households in the United States, drawing on as much as you know.
So, it's unfortunate that a lot of things cost money, and that money provides experiences for people. And even if you have a bad time, a bad experience, depending on the way you look at that, it can be beneficial and positive, and you're always going to be growing from those, from every single encounter, experience that you have. And people who were raised a certain type of way, where they're heavily influenced by their culture and the people around them, are set in a certain direction, and their mind, everything about it is, they have a tunnel vision almost,
okay,
of what their values are, what they would want to do, what they like to do, what their friends are doing, what their role models are doing. It all factors into that, and that's more the social structure, right?
Okay.
Your friends, your parents.
Yeah, but I gotta change something you said, because something you said,
Please, yeah.
Immediately I guarantee you lost people,
Okay.
right? That kind of, and what you said, people are set. It's like, no, they're not set. They tend to be what we see is they're more likely to be oriented in a
Definitely
direction.
more likely to be oriented.
But you got to watch your language, my friend, because when you said, did your mother used to say that? Watch your language, AJ.
Just got a flashback.
I saw that in your eyes, dude. No, because the moment you're in a debate with someone, the moment you say something like that, they just like you lose them. It's like no.
Yeah, of course.
So they tend people. What we see often is they tend to be set, and we don't always need money. Money's not the only thing that leads to experiences.
100%.
But you didn't say it this way, so you got to go back and change that
So-
too. You have to say money helps so often.
It helps you experience. It's not the only thing that's necessary, but it definitely does factor in and help that experience. People are oriented towards sticking down the familiar, comfortable path. Not many people are willing to step outside of that path because it's challenging.
Not many people. People
People
tend to.
tend to
Yeah. Okay.
be uncomfortable outside of what is not familiar to them.
Dude, exactly. Like the kids carjacking, guaranteed. What are their friends doing, dude? The friends that they're hanging out with, they could have chosen the smart, nerdy kids,
Right.
but they didn't. And the friends they're hanging out with are doing the same kind of stuff that they're doing.
And it
So
goes
it's like,
back to
okay.
what they value and what they view as
Whatever it is, it could
It's
be anything,
cool.
man. Could be anything. It's a lot of things. It's
Yeah.
different for everybody, but okay. Dude, anyway, that was good. Nice, like, turnaround. All right, we have a question. Yo, Amir from the stream asks, what are other factors that influence an individual's ability to overcome significant challenges that might not be from a sociological dimension? Dude, you can answer this. What are some of the things that aren't sociological that led you to overcome certain challenges? Like why at the age of 14 did you decide, I'm going to go make a lot of money investing in the stock market?
I think that like one thing is just like, we've said the word discipline a lot, and I think that that's like a great thing, like being disciplined and then being determined in your mindset and the way that you approach the problem in general, right? So it's like, first, I forget who said the quote, but it's like a problem written down is a problem half solved, right? So like you need to identify what's going on and what's wrong.
Dude, that was awesome.
Yeah, you need to identify what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
best piece of advice, take a serious look at yourself in the mirror and like analyze what your life is to this point and how it's going for you. And if you want to change something, it'll be so much easier to change that thing.
All
and
right.
then from that point, it's literally just about being like, all right, I want to stay on this path. This is what I want to do. And being disciplined in your approach, training your mind to be that way.
Or maybe having the ability to train your mind. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
for some people, I don't know, like do any of you study the horoscope, astrology at all? Any of you do? Really? Do you study, have you done the Myers-Briggs analysis or anything? Okay, well, astrology is very similar to Myers-Briggs. And like, so for example, I'm a Virgo with Aquarius rising. I mean, there are all sorts of things for me. And if you really understand me, and you understand my Myers-Briggs and you understand me, you'll understand something that I was born with, man. I don't know what it is. It's like, that maybe it's stuff that's really outside of us. Maybe in the end, a lot of this comes down to astrology. All right, do you have another question? That was a nice answer, by the way. How much does inequality impact in these two different groups? Wait, whoa. Which different groups, man? Oh, American Indian and other. How much does inequality impact, bro?
I mean, to the extent, not to the extent where they can't choose otherwise. Like I could think of examples. I mean, just going back to make a social structure argument, make a conservative argument, right? It impacts them in that it requires drive to make that right decision, right? Perhaps more so than someone who had all the right opportunities growing up. But I mean, you think about the opportunities there are. Like there are scholarships and programs that are designed to exclusively benefit Native Americans, right?
Yeah.
There are scholarship programs designed
Yeah.
to benefit African Americans.
Yeah.
And so those opportunities are there for sure.
And there are scholarships to benefit everybody.
Exactly.
Can I ask you a question? What do you know about Native Americans?
Not much.
Okay. Does anyone know a lot about Native Americans? Anyone? Is anyone Native? Any Native peoples in here, by the way? Anybody? Here. If how much does inequality, social, economic, historical impact these two? This is another example of whereby I love your answer, dude. It's an awesome answer. Nice job. And yet it was a shit answer, okay? And here's why. Because I asked you to give the answer, and you gave it, okay? And you did an awesome job, because you're smart. You came up, that was good, right? But honestly, what you would do in the end, when you, as you move along and you have more and more of these conversations, you would say, I really don't know anything about Native Americans, man. Honestly, it is so complex. The cosmology of being native here. You're Jordanian, right? So you know this, right? Because have you lived in Jordan?
I've been there. I haven't lived there.
Okay, so you know, like, for example, Palestinians in Jordan.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you know the Palestinian aura, the way of being Palestinian is just so different than being Jordanian because of everything that Palestinians have been through, right? And it's kind of like, whoa, I can't even answer this question. How much does it matter? It matters so much that we would need 10, 15 hours, and we need to bring people in, we need to watch videos, we need this, we'd have to go visit, we need so many things. So your answer was great, and that's what I mean by a shit answer, because it's like me trying to answer a question about people on the other side of the world that I just can't even begin to comprehend, and yet, I do, because I'm a teacher, and I mostly just stick my head up my rear end and talk, So that's what I meant by that, bro. You got it. Okay, is there one more question? Should police be bolstered in low-income neighborhoods? Bro? That's a yes or no question.
No, it's not.
Okay, good. Why isn't it?
All right, so if you look purely on a fact basis, right, low-income neighborhoods are disproportionately more likely to commit crime, but they're also disproportionately more likely to contain a larger percentage of African American and Black American people, right? So then the argument then becomes okay, well, are you policing the area because there's more crime or because there's a larger portion of Black people there, right? And that contributes to a whole wide variety of
It's
racial
a whole
issues
different world,
in
man.
the
And
country.
Susan's from Toronto, and she knows quite well the impact of that. Okay, so
yeah.
it's not a yes or no answer.
Not
question.
a yes or no answer.
Okay, so can you go back? Is there one more? Hey, man. Is it possible that each group's tendency to self-segregate contributes to the lack of learning or ability to grow past their current socioeconomic level? This goes for all races. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah?
100%, yeah. I think part of the problem with disparity is
Well, hang on.
I don't want to say culturally encouraged, right? But people are told you're disadvantaged. And my mom would tell me, if you think you can't, you're right. And if you think you can, you're also right. So, when you're told you can't.
Well, but listen, man. But if people are told they're disadvantaged, and then they're told in such a way that it's actually to their advantage, because they're like, hey, you're disadvantaged, so you're going to have to work twice as hard. And in poor communities in the United States, by the way, this is what people hear again and again. It's like, you're going to have to work twice as hard to get as far as that other person. You're just going to have to. So therefore, telling someone they're disadvantaged can be the thing that really moves them forward. You know what I mean? But they can also believe it. Some people are going to believe it and be like, I'm disadvantaged, so I can't do anything, so I'll just go carjack somebody. I'll never afford that car, so I'll just go steal somebody else's.
Definitely self-limiting beliefs, huge thing in life.
Yeah?
If you think that you can achieve something, there's a good chance that with the right work and effort
But listen, man.
and energy put into it.
Okay, hang on. But can you guys understand why it is? Can you go back to the picture of the young people? Can you understand why it is? Can you understand how easy it would be to be them and just be like, yeah, nothing's coming to me, man. It's not going to happen. So I'm never going to be able to do that. That hill is so high for me to climb. I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try. Do you get that?
I really
would you
feel like
blame
I'm
them?
not different from these people. We just have different perspectives on it.
Yeah.
And they could do extremely, substantially better than me
Yeah.
if they really wanted to. Everybody has moments in life where, you feel like you don't want to wake up early, you don't want to do something like this, you don't want to do hard things. And I'm not a perfect person. I can't say that I'm great and on that disciplined path. You can't say that, but more times than them, I've been disciplined.
Okay, got you. And well, they're probably pretty disciplined, actually. I would bet carjacking someone, I bet they're pretty damn disciplined in a lot of different ways, man. I remember the kids. Anyway, I have to introduce everyone to somebody. Can we, are we good? Do you guys feel like you say what you need to say? Are you good?
I think so.
Dude, you're awesome. You guys are awesome, man. Yeah.
Awesome. You learned it.
Dude.
Come on.
Dude. All right, hang on. Boy, we're not leaving yet. Have a seat. Will.
Out of here now?
No, we're not out, man. No, you gotta stay right there. Will, come here, man. So this dude, this guy right here. What's up, man? Hang on. This guy used to sit. Dude, can you hop up? Here, just move down to that seat right there. He sat in this seat 10 years ago, man, as a 17-year-old. And one day, he wears, dude, this is a shout out to Mr. TikTok here. One day he's wearing a Tupac shirt, and he says, "Hey, man." I said, I think I said, "Hey, who's that?" It didn't say Tupac on it. I said, "Yeah, who's that?" He's like, "No, you said, do you know who this is?" And I'm like, do I know who that is? What the fuck? Anyway, I can't tell that story. Here's what I'm going to tell the story. At some point in the semester, he raises his hand, and he starts talking from that seat. I give him the microphone, and within 20 seconds, I said, "Dude, hang on, stand up here, and just talk to the class." And I sat down. And 10 minutes later, you just kind of finished, and I'm like, "Okay, you done?" He's like, "Yeah." And it was the most brilliant 10 minutes that I've ever heard in this classroom, right? And so, dude, say hello to the class, by the way.
Hey, what's going on? How y'all feeling today, man?
So I'm leaving tomorrow morning for Korea. And Will is going to be here on Thursday for the first half hour of class. And you're going to get to meet Will, the guy who did the 10 coolest minutes that have ever happened in Social 119. And he's going to tell you what he does and why he's here. And he has an opportunity for you.
Yeah, Thursday's gonna be a great class. We're gonna build on what you were talking about today. We have 30 minutes. I know y'all got a quiz. Who studied for the quiz? No, you did not, man. But it's gonna be good, right? So don't study that first 30 minutes. We have a lot to get through. It's gonna be a great class. Then you'll take the quiz. Then you'll enjoy the rest of your weekend.
And when and afterwards, you're going to want to be like, "I got to follow this guy wherever he goes, man. Whatever he's doing, I want to do what he's doing because I want to be in his shadow, man." This is me. I just want to be in this guy's shadow. You know. Anyway, so listen, man. Hey, nice job, everybody. So you'll see Will. All right. Thanks for coming, man.